Strap in because things got wild at the Austrian Grand Prix 2024. In a heart-stopping moment on lap 64, Lando Norris and Max Verstappen collided, causing a major shakeup in the race. Norris's furious reaction and his explosive comments afterward have everyone talking. What really happened during that dramatic clash, and how will it affect the drivers moving forward? Stay tuned as we break down the clash and what's next for these racing rivals. The Austrian Grand Prix 2024 was gearing up to be a classic until the race took a shocking turn on lap 64. As the drivers navigated turn 3, the tension between Lando Norris and Max Verstappen reached a boiling point. The incident that unfolded wasn't just a minor mishap, it was a full-blown collision that sent shockwaves through the race. Norris, who had been eyeing Verstappen for a potential overtake, found himself squeezed as Verstappen aggressively defended his position. The two cars made contact, with Norris being forced off the track and retiring from the race due to the damage. It was a moment that left fans and analysts alike stunned, as Norris's race ended in a spectacular and frustrating fashion. From Norris's perspective, this was more than just a racing incident. He was visibly upset, and his frustration was clear when he spoke about the collision. Norris felt that Verstappen's aggressive driving was the primary cause of the crash. According to Norris, Verstappen had been making it extremely difficult for him to get past, with some maneuvers that he considered overly defensive. In Norris's view, the collision was not a result of a racing incident, but rather a consequence of Verstappen's defensive tactics. Verstappen, on the other hand, was involved in a fierce battle to maintain his position. As the race progressed, Verstappen's strategy appeared to be all about protecting his spot on the track, which seemed to escalate the situation with Norris. This aggressive approach, while common in Formula 1, can lead to high-stakes clashes like the one that unfolded. Verstappen's resistance to Norris's overtaking attempts was intense, and this high-pressure scenario ultimately led to the dramatic collision. With Norris retiring from the race and Verstappen facing the fallout, the Austrian Grand Prix 2024 took on a new dimension. The collision not only impacted the race's outcome, but also sparked a significant controversy between the two drivers. The aftermath of this clash was bound to influence not just the current season, but also the future dynamics between Norris and Verstappen. After the chaos of lap 64 at the Austrian Grand Prix, Lando Norris was clearly not holding back. The collision with Max Verstappen had left him not just frustrated but also determined to make his voice heard. In the post-race conference, Norris laid out his thoughts on what went wrong and how he felt about the whole situation. Norris didn't mince words. He explained that the crash wasn't just a bad stroke of luck, but a direct result of Verstappen's defensive driving. According to Norris, Verstappen had been consistently blocking him in a way that he felt crossed the line. "I was trying to get past, but Max was not making it easy," Norris said, clearly exasperated. "It felt like every time I got close, he would move over and block my line. It was just too aggressive. And it led to that collision." The way Norris described the race painted a picture of a driver who was being held back not by a lack of skill or pace, but by what he perceived as unsportsmanlike tactics. He believed that Verstappen's actions were a deliberate attempt to prevent him from overtaking, which, according to Norris, was the main reason for the crash. "It's one thing to defend your position, but it's another to do it in a way that puts others at risk," he added. Norris also reflected on the broader context of the race. He mentioned that the collision wasn't an isolated incident, but part of a larger pattern throughout the event. The race was intense, with multiple drivers jostling for position, and Norris felt that the aggressive driving by Verstappen was a factor that kept him from showcasing his own skills and strategy. It wasn't just about that one move. It was about the entire race and how certain drivers were racing. It made it really hard to get any rhythm going, Norris explained. Looking ahead, Norris was clear about his expectations. He wanted Verstappen to acknowledge the impact of his driving and hoped that such incidents could be avoided in the future. Norris's comments weren't just about venting his frustration. They were also a call for a reassessment of how aggressive racing is approached. "I hope Max understands the consequences of his actions and that we can avoid these kinds of situations going forward. It's all about fair racing," he concluded. With Norris's race over and his frustration evident, the focus now shifts to how this incident will influence future interactions between these two drivers. The collision and Norris's subsequent comments have set the stage for what could be an ongoing saga in their racing careers. As the season continues, the fallout from this clash will undoubtedly be a topic of discussion and could influence how both drivers approach their future races. After the dramatic collision at the Austrian Grand Prix, Max Verstappen faced a wave of scrutiny and criticism from Lando Norris and the wider racing community. With Norris's accusations of aggressive driving hanging in the air, Verstappen had to address the situation and clarify his side of the story. In his post-race comments, Verstappen defended his actions during the race, arguing that his defensive maneuvers were within the bounds of fair racing. "I was just doing what I had to do to protect my position," Verstappen stated. "In Formula 1, defending your place is part of the game. You can't just let someone pass without putting up a fight. I felt that I was driving hard, but fair." Verstappen also expressed his frustration with the way Norris had portrayed the incident. He believed that Norris's comments were an attempt to deflect from the real issues of the race. "It's easy to blame someone else when things don't go your way," Verstappen said, "but the race was tough for everyone, and we all had to fight for every position. I didn't see it as anything personal. It was just racing." One of the key points Verstappen made was about the nature of racing in high-pressure situations. According to him, the close-quarters racing that led to the collision was a natural part of competing at the highest level. When you're racing so close, things can get tense. There's always a risk of contact, Verstappen explained. "I wasn't trying to block Lando unfairly, I was just trying to hold my line and stay in front." Despite his defense, Verstappen did acknowledge that the collision had a significant impact on the race. He admitted that the incident was unfortunate but maintained that it was a racing incident rather than a deliberate act of aggression. "It's never nice to see another driver's race end because of a collision," Verstappen admitted. "I hope Lando can move past this and focus on the next races." As for the future, Verstappen's stance is clear. He remains focused on his racing and is not looking to let the fallout from this incident derail his season. He's committed to continuing his aggressive driving style while respecting the rules of the sport. "I'm always going to race hard, but I'm also going to respect my competitors," Verstappen concluded. "It's about finding the right balance and learning from each race." So what's next for Norris and Verstappen? The collision at the Austrian Grand Prix has certainly set the stage for an intriguing rivalry. With both drivers having their perspectives and defending their actions, it's clear that this story isn't over. As the season progresses, fans will be watching closely to see how their relationship evolves and how these two drivers handle the tension. Now, we want to hear from you. What do you think about the collision and the aftermath? Do you side with Norris or Verstappen? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and let's get the discussion going. And if you enjoyed this breakdown of the Austrian Grand Prix, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more thrilling Formula 1 content.